So, a wonderful morning to all of you. We're here for our Global Heart Resonance Call. We are in the opening of this week of Thanksgiving. And it means different things to a lot of us. And that, I think the meaning is changing. We're honoring here this morning, just really take a moment and take a breath and honor the land and the ancestors, those ones that have been living on this land for thousands of years prior to us being here today. And this innate, inherent reciprocity that we carry, that without a lot of conditioning or fear, where there's just love, there is a sense of innate reciprocity, this thanks, this gratitude and giving, gratitude and giving, gratitude and giving. So this morning we're going to still continue our playfulness and have fun, and at the same time really embrace this field, this experience of wholeness. So welcome everyone to our Good of the Whole call here. And really simply, we're just honoring that we are whole beings in service to a greater whole, and cultivating that voice, that collective field consciousness of unity, of love, of reciprocity, and of connection. So this morning we're going to open up, Henry's going to spontaneously open our call with resonance and really taking us home. I really heard that this morning, like, okay, take us home. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to be this place of home. So with that, I pass the beautiful talking feather to you, Henry.
Thank you, Shelley. Good morning, everyone. So I invite you all to take a few easy, deep breaths. Each breath bringing you more and more home. To the home frequency. To the stone soup of our heart resonance. As we each connect with the pilgrim within us this time of Thanksgiving week, and each our contributions that we bring to that soup, and all the people in our lives bring to the soup of our lives, that nourishes us, that connects us with home, that connects us with wholeness. Breathing in and breathing out. Experiencing the delight of each person's presence in our circle. The mystery and the magic. In deep gratitude for this moment. And each moment. I return the talking feather to Shelley.
Beautiful. So, just settling deeper into our bodies, settling deeper into really who we be and the gifts, gifts that we have to share. So this morning, this evolutionary stone soup, which came in an extraordinary way. And this is an old story, an old folktale that is so relevant that even when it came to me, I had to go into the story and sort of up-level it, shift the energy even, so that we could play in this powerful way. So we know that there always have been times of challenge, and we are here in some challenging times, right? There's just a lot. I mean, think about the California fires and, you know, the different edge of politics that's going on in the countries, and each one trying to stand taller. But are they standing taller in mutual respect and love or not? What's our choice? So we come here today in choice. And so even in these most challenging times, we always have something we can share with another. And really, this is the momentum that I feel is coming forth. That as we really ground in our physicality, we listen for what we have to give, to offer. You know, to really open and allow that communication, that source, deep innate source coming through. So I'm going to read the story for those who haven't heard, and for those who might be listening later on and haven't seen the email. A kind elderly pilgrim was walking through the land when she came upon an eco-village. As she entered, the villagers moved towards their homes quickly, locking doors and windows. The stranger smiled sweetly and asked, "Why are you all so frightened?" "I am a simple traveler looking for a soft, comfortable place to stay for the night and a warm place for a meal." "There's not a bite to eat in the whole province," she was told. "We are weak and our children are hungry. Better keep moving on." "Oh," she said, "I have everything I need," she said. "In fact, I was thinking of making some stone soup to share with all of you." She pulled an iron cauldron from her cloak and filled it with water and began to build a fire underneath it. And with great ceremony drew an ordinary looking stone from a silken bag and dropped it into the water. By now, hearing the rumor of food, most of the villagers had come out of their homes and watched from their windows as this elderly pilgrim sniffed the broth and licked her lips in anticipation. Hunger began to overcome their fear. "Ah," said the woman to herself rather loudly, "I do like a tasty evolutionary stone soup. Of course, the soup with squash and lots of love that's hard to beat." Soon a villager approached hesitantly, holding a small squash he retrieved from his hiding place, and added it to the pot. "Wonderful," sang the elderly pilgrim. "You know, I once had evolutionary stone soup with squash and a bit of carrots as well, and it was fit for a queen." The organic villager managed to find some organic carrots and cumin, and so it went. People brought potatoes and onions and almond cream, and so on, until there was indeed a delicious meal for everyone in the village to share. The village shaman offered the elderly pilgrim a great deal of money for the stone, for the magic stone. But she refused to sell it and traveled on the next day. But as she left, the elderly pilgrim came upon a group of village children playing near the road. She gave them the silken bag containing the stone and handed it to the youngest child, whispering that it was not the stone, but the villagers' love and trust that had performed the magic. So today, we have this great opportunity to share our love of magic and see what alchemical wonders this field of wholeness can offer us. And just the invitation is just to take a breath for a moment as we just digest this delicious evolutionary impulse of information wanting to come through. And we speak from 1 to 2 minutes, honoring them with mutual trust and respect, this collective, and listening for that thread that's weaving the tapestry of greater coherence this morning. Honoring the pause when it shows up. So with that, I pass this, well, both the stoned soup, the soup stone, and this evolutionary feather. And just feel free to grab it. And what are you offering today into this field? Blessings. I'm complete. And don't forget to take yourself off mute.
This is Cassandra, and I'm picking up the feather. I think I'm going to add green beans to that delicious soup. My love of the earth just fills me. I've been collecting stones my whole life. I've learned an ancient Pueblo style of reading sacred stones. So today's heartfelt story really did touch me. It reminded me of my own path and my willingness to let go of fears in order to be able to go deeper and find that support within myself for moving forward into a new project or something along that line. I'm so glad I found you. I'm so glad that Shelley extended the invitation. It's my pleasure to sit here with you in circle. And I put the feather back into the center. Aho.
Morning, everyone. This is Karen. What came to mind at the end of that, when you post, what do we bring? What was put immediately into my mind was, I bring the new stone, and then I realized I'm a traveler. The stone is a stone of faith and trust and belief and knowing. And that's what I bring. I'm the traveler. And actually, that is what I will be doing with a Crystalite Foundation, is going from place to place to place, setting up the communities and bringing the stone, bringing the stone of a new paradigm of being. Wow. That's what came through. Wow. Surprise. Well, while I process that, I will pass the feather.
what's coming to me is to add in new flavors. Even rebuilding this foundation, so this greater trust and faith and knowing can happen. I really love, in speaking about stones and pulling these threads forward, is it's always said that stone is our first ancestor, that we are made of the stone, of the dust. And the stone is made of the waters, these living waters. I don't know, I got so, whoop, Oriana, I took your line. I don't know, it just popped in, like this, because what are we putting these gifts into this living water, this pool of living water, this pot of living water? And I don't know, that just brought a sense of delight and possibility. And so for me, this is a soup of hope, of presencing, and in amidst all that's moving, because I know there's a lot of energy moving, in some senses, a lot of painful energy moving. But when that pain is embraced and by love, by unconditional love, by loving more, by our communities coming together to support each other, by us sharing our wealth in so many areas, just like this, it becomes the soup starts singing. So, and some spice or of gratitude, putting that into the soup this morning here as well. Loving you all, I'm complete. And I pass the talking feather.
This is Henry. I'll dive into the soup. So I'm actually seeing with each person's sharing, seeing, sensing, feeling, and just about tasting the soup that we're co-creating. So it's so interesting with that metaphor. And the richness of that, but also realizing that at each of our global heart resonance gatherings, that we, each time we're creating a soup, and each person adding their contributions creates and brings such a richness. So I love this beautiful metaphor. And we each come to the soup, to the circle, to the stone of heart resonance as pilgrims, kind of seeking that greater richness that comes when we gather together. Also, I want to say I did live in an eco-village for a while in Western Massachusetts. And actually, part of it was during the time of Y2K, if people can remember that time where there was some uncertainty as to access to basic supplies. And I wondered, that the community was relatively open. What might happen? And it's a little incongruent to see everybody in the eco-village community going off to their places and locking up. So, but I was uncertain about what might happen. So anyway, so there's a little bit of incongruence there, but it's a creative. What would we do in such a situation? So anyway, so I feel complete for now. Thank you.
Hello, this is Kate in South Dakota. I'm going to grab that talking feather for a moment, as I don't know how to make me come on the screen when I talk. But anyway, I think that we've all been stone carriers in a way, because I too have been a stone carrier, and I could go on telling this never-ending story of this trail of heart-shaped rocks that actually led me to Grandmother Cassandra's house a couple of weeks ago, and I'm honored that she's joining us, because indeed she is a stone thrower, and she did this ancient Pueblo stone throwing. So I guess I have props today. Grandmother, it's a few stones are coming together for my little bag too. So it's kind of interesting how that is happening. And then as Shelley was speaking, I thought, I have to get out my props. I know she loves it when I bring the props and bring those into the field. But I guess one of the most touching stories to me about the stone is the green stone story, which is really Mianaya. Mianaya is the anagram for I am one. That same old story that says, your story is just as beautiful and valid as mine. And when we bring that essence of love that we have learned, when we bring those stones, the experiences that we've had, and we bring them into this evolutionary soup right now, I know we can all feel the shivers that we get weekly, knowing that we are sending these true vibes of truth and integrity and discovery out. And with that, I feel complete for the moment, and I thank you for listening, and I return the talking feather to the center of the circle.
Good morning, everyone. This is Nancy Chaconas in California. I'm getting ready to go to the chiropractor, so I'm having to do too much getting dressed and scurrying, and I couldn't be on vision with you, but I'm on heart vision with you all, even though I can't see your faces. I love the stone soup. It's so interesting because I think my knee went out again. It might be a torn meniscus. I'm kind of dealing with that now. I've looked up in my Louise Hay book of the metaphysical affirmation to help with the healing of knees, and it happens to be forgiveness, understanding, compassion, and the affirmation is, I bend and flow with ease, and all is well, which is so interesting to me because that is really a theme for me and a lifelong learning, I guess you could say. I bend and flow with ease, and all is well. And so what comes to mind is the soup, how that blends in with the soup for me is, I think I have some real rocks in my soup right these days. And what makes me so happy in life is the metaphor of everybody contributing and participating in the love and the soup and adding a carrot and so on. That's the ease and flow that I cherish in my life. And right now there's like a kind of another nursery or another story is coming to mind of the princess and the pea, how there was like a pea, just a tiny little pea, but it was really, uncomfortable to be lying on that pea. And I feel like I have a little stone, a little annoying stone in my soup. And I'm sure my lesson with my knees is compassion and forgiveness. And I'm bending and flowing with ease, and all is well. And I pass the talking stick back to you.
What's coming to mind right now, this is Shelley, and is the stirring of the soup. And that here and there, we have to stir the soup. The blending, I love that. The blending, the tasting, the smelling, all these different senses. And the stirring of the soup that happens, where all the elements get jumbled up and moved. And instead of just sitting on the bottom, each one just sitting in wherever they are, the potatoes are on the bottom, or the heavier items, and the kale is floating on the top, right? There's this movement. And I think that's something to really honor in today's soup, is the movement and the change. And whoa, wait, I just really liked being at the bottom. Don't, stir me up. And in order to create this flavorful bouquet of experience, the embodiment and the expression of the soup, it has its own essence. And I think that's also part of our experience here, and part of what I love so much is this, the bouquet. We have a beautiful bouquet of flowers, and it's just so many different types of flowers. And and someone else said it, we get to delight in this soup, in this experience, being part of the bouquet. And also the sense of resilience. I think that's something that I feel has been working on my consciousness. What would it be like when noticing when I clamp down, to just open and allow people to even be off according to my judgment, like to allow things. And I woke up with this the other morning, and it's continued, this sense of just allowing it to be what it is. We don't want squash soup to taste like potato soup, and we don't want potato soup to taste like minestrone. And it's like all these different ingredients, this gift of life that we've been given. And so I'm just really appreciative of this experience here this morning. I mean, again, who knew? Just this lively presencing of consciousness. So I'm complete and past the talking feather, and if you want to grab the stone as well.
This is Henry again. So a couple other things stood out in the story for me. One is the appearance of the stranger, of someone who is different or outside. And people retreating to their own usual sense of self. And though the stranger has this gift for them, also reminded me of the Hindu adage or teaching or quote that the guest is God. So the stranger, and in different traditions of welcoming the stranger, but also that the stranger or something outside of ourselves might also bring in the new paradigm, the new possibilities, and be a doorway to the greater richness of the soup of our connectedness. And the second part, somewhat connected with that, is the elderly, kind pilgrim used a little bit of kind of a trickery to bring it all together, or a certain strategy from her heart, and knowing that there was a better way for interaction between peoples. And she carried that larger vision. Actually, when I first read it, I was thinking of the Peace Pilgrim. But she had kind of a larger vision of knowing that she used with her creative trickery to bring that into everyone's consciousness, of kind of inviting people out of their usual ways of seeing and being, to open to the new. And so in some ways, of each of us as teachers are kind of opening to devices of new ways of seeing, which bring us maybe in creativity, in a sense, is a kind of trickery or ways of teaching the child in ourselves the wisdom that comes from, or can come from, the parents or the elder. So anyway, I feel complete.
This is Cassandra, and I pick up the feather. I'm reminded of a story in our family tradition. My grandmother and grandfather were very poor, and when we would be on the way to visit them, this is long before cell phones and GPS, they would only know that we had left at such and such a date and such a time. But it never failed that when we arrived at my grandmother's door, the pot of bean soup was made and had been stewing, and just however she made it was made with love. And the cornbread was coming out of the oven, and she had real butter because she had the ability to be able to make her own butter. It was some of the best time because my great-grandmother lived with her at during these years. And one memory, and especially, is like, to me, a family gesture. I was watching Kate when she was combing her hair and getting ready to braid it. My great-grandmother's hair was down to her rear end, and it was different shades of gray. And she used to wear it rolled up in 3 rolls on top of her head. She let me comb her hair and do her hair up on my last trip through. So all of these family memories are caught up around the kitchen table and the chairs we sit in when we come to one another's table. I look forward to coming to your tables and inviting you to mine. There's so much richness and beauty in this world. I know that in the Middle East and in the Orient, a stranger comes to the door, you invite them in, and if you don't, it's a shame upon your house, no matter how little you have to offer. I think that that is the greatest aspect that we Americans can share, is opening our hearts, seeing a need, and making that soup, that community, evolutionary community soup, from those deep places within ourselves that nurture. And with that, I am complete. I put the feather back in the center. Aho.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to grab the feather for a second. So I love the story. The story to me is of so much, just shows so much gratitude and so much willingness to have the belief that something wonderful can be made out of either nothing or so little. And during this time of Thanksgiving, I realize more and more how grateful I am and how much I have to be sitting in gratitude for in my life, even on those days when I feel so miserable because, oh, something didn't go my way, or whatever our human situation is. And I think, and it's been presented to me just in this last week, some really interesting stories of tragedy, not just the California stories, but some local stories, and how grateful I need to be for all I have. And it's interesting, when I sit in gratitude, true gratitude, there is no place for feeling bad or feeling sad or any of that, because sitting in gratitude is a joyful place. And the first thing I thought of when you said stone soup, Shelley, and I didn't get the email for some reason, but so I couldn't read the story, but you read it for us. But when I first heard it, before you explained it, I thought, stone soup, the rock, drop the rock, was what went through my head. The rock symbolizing any guilt, any darkness, anything that we don't need to carry with us. Just go forward as light beings and heal and move forward and make a beautiful melange of delicious, yummy, heart-filled gratitude soup. So with that, I love you all and I'm complete.
You know, Kate feels like I want to pick up the feather one more time again, just to say, because isn't that always how it goes? Even when you're at a potluck and I only have this, but you bring it, and everybody brings what they have, and it ends up being this amazing feast. But what I really felt as Shelley started stirring the pot, I felt all the gifts of our stones, kind of coming out almost like our heart songs. And I thought to myself how this meal has rather turned into a bringing together of our heart songs, and this universal B flat chorus arose for me out of the soup that was starting to sing. And as Mara was speaking and talking about, Thanksgiving, it reminded me of, I've heard that the Haudenosaunee, or however you say the original peoples, Haudenosaunee, I understand that they kind of have this premise that you live life until the only thing you say is thank you for absolutely everything. And I got to tell you, I've been at that place for a while and just kind of grateful for it all. And yeah, especially in this time, here we are in the moon of Scorpio, and it's all about that releasing of the old. I just, as Mara was speaking, I thought, yes, we all have this opportunity to look at these things that have not served us, that have been untruthful, and this time of rectifying and bringing it around and working with foundation stones, the keystone, the capstone, the foundation stone. Let's put together a new monument that works for us all. I'll return the talking feather and thank you for listening.
Well, this is Shelley, and I'm loving this because just so much is coming into this soup, this consciousness, the soup of consciousness. And I was getting tickled because I was remembering my grandmother. And my grandmother was an incredible cook. And she was the evolutionary hostess of her time. But she always cooked from a recipe. It always had to be exactly what that recipe said. And then I come along and I'm like, zero recipe, just intuit it. And they both are important, sort of understanding the old traditions, those things that really did work. And then also being willing to be ourselves and have that sense of wonder, like, well, what would happen if I just dropped in a little bit of cinnamon over here? Or, whoa, what would happen if I, put a little extra cardamom over here? And what's incredible to me is, if you look at, if I'm just going to just in real base terms, look at food, all these eclectic restaurants that are all these amazing chefs that have moved out of, have gone further, gone beyond the original soup recipe, let's just say, which is really who we all are. What we're doing is inviting ourselves and inviting others to, wow, try this, taste this. Wow, think about this. Hold that sense of innocence and wonder as we're going forward into today, into this week, into this new year. That's just kind of what's bubbling up. And, don't you love it when you see a soup just simmering, right? There's something when it's just simmering. And it asks us to have patience and to wait. Oh, there's the internet connection. So just take a pause here. And we pass the talking feather.
This is Dinama. When I've read the word stones, I immediately recognize the eternality of the rock, the stone, the millions of so-called years of creating, and what that stone knows vibrationally. And then to see it in a soup, is a great metaphor for, not metaphor, but imagining of living in the fifth dimension, being in all those times, places, thoughts, feelings, hearts at once. And this is how I feel with us and have felt in this resonant field. And now it is that we are this soup and we're simmering and we're really floating ourselves into releasing the attachment to our identity as individual and breathing that aroma of our soup into our own expansion. And it's unpredictable, and you love what shows up, and we learn to dance new steps. And it feels so true. I'm complete.
So this is the moment where we open up to those who haven't had a chance to share. And for those who are always with us, we just hold them in the space and allow the soup's aroma now to ripple out. So anyone who hasn't shared, feel free to jump in. And the rest of us will just go into that eternal space of pause. Right. So we really give gratitude this morning for all that has been stirred and added to this beautiful evolutionary pot. And I just want to mention for those who would like to come, play more in this field, every Wednesday there is a call for mentoring stewards. The first Wednesday of the month is a public experience where you can come and taste that new soup, so to speak. And Kathy, hold on one second. Now let me just finish, and I will let you share. Just 1 minute. So this experience of co-mentoring is really taking this soup and taking it to another level. And right now, just so that you know, we're as mentors of good of the whole, serving the good of the whole, we're looking at the 7 days of rest and reflection coming up in January. So taking this experience of the field and sharing it. So with that, that's it. And Kathy, if you have something to share, she's got her hand up.
I just had a question. What time is the call, and do you use the same meeting ID number as you do on Monday?
Yeah. So just no, it's a different number, and you have to go in through the. Well, if anyone's interested and they don't know how to do it, just contact myself or Julie, just through an email. Just send back an email, and we can explain it. But you have to be a mentoring steward to be part of the monthly experience, except for the first week, because we're actually really working on developing and grounding, and like you said, putting that keystone, that foundation out as a voice of love living here on the planet. So with that, and Kathy, I'll get back to you for sure. Kate, Kathy, what did I say, Kathy? So let's just take a breath with deep appreciation as we go into this week, carrying this energy forward. And I want to thank Henry for being that support on the Resonance Council. And always, if anyone wants to be part of that, just contact me as well. We'll be doing some fun things in the new year. So let's all unmute ourselves, and we send out this love and this energy to all those that are, having a challenging time here at this time. It's a very important time for families to be together. We want to envision the immigrants and their families, the caravan, just everyone just being able to feel that gratitude of giving. So we hold that out for wherever we are locally and globally. And we just send this out. Yum.
Yum.
Yum. Yum. Yum. Mwah. Blessings to you all. Thank you for creating this delicious soup here today. Love, love, love. Woohoo! Keep the faith. Yeehaw. Share your stones. The magic. Love.